The dating app OkCupid is all about meeting someone real, someone you feel like you already know even before you get to know them. Because OkCupid asks so many great questions, you get a really good sense for who someone is before you meet them. When you're ready to get back out there, download the OkCupid app. It's free.
Mattress Warehouse knows that buying a mattress can be tough. With so many choices, where do you start? Introducing BedMatch, a patented diagnostic system that determines your pressure points and recommends the mattresses that are best for your individual sleep needs. And it's found only at Mattress Warehouse. Come try BedMatch at a Mattress Warehouse near you. Visit sleephappens.com for locations and get free next day delivery on select purchases.
Mattress Warehouse, sleephappens.com.
Mindy Kaling's Velma is going to be South Asian, and that's that. Cleveland's baseball team is now called the Guardians, aka the baseball team formerly known as the Indians. And BuzzFeed's Shannon Keating joins to talk housewives and why we all need to thank the gay gods for Kathy Hilton.
It's July 23rd, 2021.
Hey friends, I'm Casey Rackham.
And I'm Stephen LeConte. Welcome to BuzzFeed Daily.
Stephen, if there's one thing I know about people, it's that they don't take change well.
Oh, no, they do not.
Especially the internet. So specifically, I am talking about recent people being too precious about old cartoon characters news, because Mindy Kaling has some words for everyone who's mad that her version of Scooby-Doo's character Velma will be South Asian. She recently told Seth Meyers that while at first people were stoked she'd be voicing the character in an upcoming animated spinoff, many weren't too thrilled when it was announced that the character would be South Asian.
They were not happy. There was a lot of so not Velma, those kind of tweets. Right. Not the classic Velma that I'm always thinking about.
Mindy went on to say she was surprised that people were having so much trouble imagining that, quote, a really smart, nerdy girl with terrible eyesight and who loved to solve mysteries could be Indian.
I mean, Casey, I shouldn't be surprised that this turned into a scandal just given, how horrible the internet is. But I cannot believe people are actually being precious about Velma from Scooby-Doo being Caucasian.
Listen, the only thing I would be mad about is if she's somehow not queer, because Velma is queer. But,
okay, that's a really good point.
Right, it is. No, but seriously, this instantly reminded me of how they're doing the live action Little Mermaid, and Little Mermaid's gonna be black now. And I got a message from an angry fan when I wrote that up over 2 years ago, and she was like, how dare she not be a ginger? She's originally white. And I'm like, okay. I don't know what to tell you.
People therapy. I cannot recommend it enough. Mindy's talked about this Velma reboot, how she says it's going to have a 2021 refresh. It's going to be a more modern spin on Scooby-Doo. Frankly, I'm glad that all those kids aren't going to be white now. I think that's a positive step forward. And by the way, Casey, she did hint at the fact that Velma may be queer.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Stephen.
No worries. Well, okay. Let's move on to some other news about people who cannot deal with any change, okay? After over a century of being known as the Indians, Cleveland's baseball team has a new name, the Guardians. The team made the announcement with a video narrated by Tom Hanks, who neither grew up nor lives in Cleveland. So why the Guardians? According to the team, Guardians reflects those attributes that define us while drawing on the iconic Guardians of Traffic just outside the ballpark on the Hope Memorial Bridge.
Yeah, honestly, people are mad, and I'm like, maybe you just didn't know that Guardians is actually connected to your city, and maybe you should be ashamed of that more than anything. I'm like, it's connected. It's not like they just were like, oh, we like the Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's do that. It's they had an actual reason. And I think like you said, people on the internet, they're being such pains about it, and they're just I forget what word, but someone was just what a weak name or something like that. And I'm like, what about the two teams named after socks?
Right. Hey, I'm from Boston. I love one of those teams named after socks, but you have a fair point.
Okay, they're called the Red Sox. The Guardians is fine.
No, I saw this tweet because there was some angry right-wing person was like, oh, this is the dumbest sports team name ever. And then someone quote tweeted them saying, there's literally a team called the Utah Jazz, right?
It's so stupid.
No, but I'm all for the change. Of course, it's one of those things when you see it, you go, oh, of course, Fox News is not going to stop talking about this for like 8 weeks, but it's a positive step forward. Good job. I will now root for the Cleveland Guardians.
All right, so moving on to a topic that is close to both of our hearts.
Yes, it is.
Even the most diehard fan will admit that the Housewives franchise has hit a snag or two in recent years. As the franchise reckons with more serious topics like race and politics, it hasn't quite yet figured out what the tone of the show is anymore.
But just when we needed it most, the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills has managed to stumble upon one of the most entertaining Housewives characters we've seen in a long time. One that's been a breath of fresh air amid a growing number of very uncomfortable TV moments. As BuzzFeed's Shannon Keating knows all too well, her name is Kathy Hilton. Yes, as in Paris Hilton's mom. Shannon joins us now with more on why we should all be thanking the gay gods for Kathy Hilton. Hi, Shannon. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
So first, let's talk about why the Housewives franchise, and particularly Beverly Hills, needed a breath of fresh air. You wrote that the last season was full of, quote, bad vibes. Can you break down what happened last season and where production failed the fans?
Yes, there were a lot of bad vibes last season. I think Beverly Hills is an example of one of the series in the franchise that has been going on for so long that some of the women have, I think, got like a little bit too big for their britches, perhaps,
Yes.
And newcomers can kind of get like really gobbled up. And I think that happened last season with Denise Richards. We had a little bit of gay panic going on when she was accused of having an affair with former housewife Brandi Glanville. Very messy. But Beverly Hills, as well as a lot of the other cities, have been getting more political as the cultural climate has changed. And that's been tough on the ladies of Beverly Hills. It's,
Yes.
I don't know if I necessarily needed to know, so many of their, horrific opinions about, things like race and privilege. And even though I understand, that, Housewives is just trying to stay relevant and, maintain links with the broader culture. It's been hard. It's the show that a lot of us tune into for escapism, and it's really last season. It was, the fun wasn't there as much.
I think it's like what you're saying is like these topics are important, but are these the ladies who should be talking about it?
Yeah, perhaps not. Perhaps not.
Well, you specifically said in your piece that the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is having sort of an identity crisis. Can you expand on what you mean by that?
Yeah, I think that relates to the, the kind of political developments that the show is making. It's a tricky balance on Housewives, right? Where you want a lot of mess, you want a lot of drama, but you don't want it to get so messy that there's nobody to root for, you still need to have some sympathy with some of these women. You need to, feel like you're more on someone's side even in the most inane fights possible. And I think it's been harder and harder to like some of these women I have found, especially as they just kind of close ranks among themselves and, don't really open themselves up to outsiders.
Enter Kathy Hilton. I mean, truly, I think, we knew Kathy Hilton was coming on the show. And for listeners who don't watch the show, she is sisters with Kyle, who has been on the show since the beginning. And I think we were all just kind of like, okay, Kathy's going on. And we could not predict what chaos she was going to bring to this show, and not in like a drama way, just in a real kooky way.
Real kooky.
One thing you put perfectly in your piece is that, quote, basic rules of perception and logic don't seem to apply to her, which is true because I really wish I could describe Kathy Hilton, but when I text my friends after I've seen an episode, all I say is, oh man, Kathy. So it's like, what are some of your favorite examples of Kathy and what she is bringing to this show?
Yeah, I think something that makes Kathy so delightful is that she isn't like, as you said, she's just not easy to categorize, she's just such a specific person and also someone who has just been so bonkers wealthy for so much of her life. You know, like a lot of the women comment on the fact that like Kathy is just not used to doing pretty much like anything by herself. I mean, like this is a group of wealthy women, but I mean, Kathy is in like a total other, you know, stratosphere of wealth.
Which is probably why it's so weird when we know how wealthy she is, and then she's just trying to pull pranks on these people who are they're just trying to like, I mean, this show is not about pranks. This show is about being poised, dressing well, and having money. And Kathy's just like being a clown over here. I don't know.
That's why it works, because the other women come into this like needing the fame and needing the money that the show can bring them. But Kathy doesn't need any of it. She's literally just there to have a good time.
Yeah, she's just along for the ride. Like, while you've got other women, you know, like Dorit coming in dressed in head to toe Louis Vuitton monograms, you know, like just constantly trying to put so much effort into turning a look. And then you've got Kathy rolling up in her like, you know, like girls rule t-shirt, like from the mall, you know, like she just doesn't care really. And that is so freeing.
There's one episode where Sutton is having this kind of Parisian lunch and everyone's dressed really cute, and Kathy just shows up in a button-up and she's like, well, this is what I wear every time I go to Paris, and I go like 6 times a year, so I would know. And I'm just like, good for you, Kathy.
Well, you know, Kathy's success comes at something of a critical time for the franchise. You know, ratings have been down across the board. A lot of Housewives legends are dropping like flies, either because they're quitting or they're getting fired. There have been several scandals with Housewives being arrested for like some pretty, you know, vile alleged crimes. And then there have been some heinous and frankly just unwatchable racism scandals in basically every single city this year. What can Bravo learn from Kathy Hilton's success about what exactly viewers want to see on these shows?
I mean, I don't know. And on the one hand, it's tough, right? Because I feel like, can you really replicate a Kathy Hilton? I feel like that's hard. It would be hard to do. But
it is lightning in a bottle.
I think that she's just brought like some much needed levity to the season, like especially when you just have, you know, like the same fight about racial microaggressions that has been unfolding over multiple episodes. And then you've just got, you know, Kathy in the background interjecting herself, asking who Hunky Dory is. It's just like, it's a kind of like joyousness and silliness that I feel like we have not seen in just in this like wave of self-seriousness on Housewives.
When you had said it's going to be hard to replicate Kathy, could you do that? And so now I'm wondering, she's just a friend of on this season. Do you think that she's going to be promoted to a main player, or should she even be promoted to one? Because that could change everything.
That could change everything. I know it's hard. I mean, something that's great about Kathy's allure is that we're not really seeing into her like every day the way you do with the other wives. She just kind of like wanders in and out. I know that she has seen how much the fans have loved her, so I wonder if that might change her calculations a little bit. I mean, I hope it would. I would see plenty more of Kathy.
Well, we'll be right back. BuzzFeed's Shannon Keating has more on Kathy Hilton and the Housewives.
Hi, friends. So a question to ask yourself. As things start to open up and more people are getting vaccinated, maybe it's also time to date again. Your love life no longer needs to be on hold. It's time for the real thing, a real connection. And OkCupid is here for you, however you choose to date. OkCupid is about meeting someone real, someone you can feel like you already know even before you get to know them. Because OkCupid asks so many great questions, you can get a really good sense for who someone is before you meet them. When you're ready to get back out there, take a look at the OkCupid dating app. It's free. Download the OkCupid app in the App Store today. Gap Home is a trusted brand for quality and timeless American design for modern living and is now available exclusively at walmart.com/gaphome. Gap Home offers everything you need for your home. Get super soft bedding, luxe bath essentials, elevated tableware, and more inspired finds for daily life. From essentials like plush towels and sleek accessories to detailed dinnerware, Gap Home also offers starter style picks for the dorm room or that first apartment. Pick out curtains with subtle prints and shades of chambray, and get all new bedding from breathable sheets and soft quilts. Not to mention pillows for days. Mix, match, and pile them on for the optimum effect you're looking for. Made with the planet in mind, Gap is committed to doing good for the planet. That starts at home. From bedding to bath, Gap Home includes items made with organic cotton and recycled materials. Shop at walmart.com/Gap Home. Welcome back. We're talking with Shannon Keating about all things Real Housewives. So, even though Kathy gives off major I don't give a fuck vibes, the truth is she must give some fucks about this, right? Because she's avoided the show for a literal decade, but chose to come on now. Steven and I have talked about this before, just amongst ourselves, but what do you think Kathy wants from this? Is she trying to rebrand herself or repair the Hilton family image after Paris has come forward about, abuse she experienced as a teen? It's like, why now, Kathy?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And I do wonder if her appearance in the Paris Hilton documentary might have changed some of her calculations. I haven't seen it, but I've heard that she comes across quite cold and calculating. And obviously she has the reputation of someone who put her daughters in the spotlight very young. And yeah, perhaps this is a little bit about image rehabilitation for her. But at the same time, it's like, does she need it? I don't know if she does.
On the Paris Hilton note, there's something that I've been trying to unpack when I'm watching Beverly Hills, and it's this. You've got Kathy Hilton playing up this character of this dumb blonde, right? She asks, who's hunky dory? She's putting eardrops in her eyes. She's constantly looking like an unmade bed. And it's really working for her. But I can't help but notice that she's sort of replicating the success of Paris Hilton on The Simple Life. And one thing I can't figure out, do you think that Paris Hilton was doing a Kathy impression, or is Kathy now doing a Paris Hilton impression?
Oh my God. I don't know. I mean, I haven't gotten too in the weeds thinking about the extent to which Kathy really is putting on the ditzy act. But I mean, Paris also was so good at it to the extent that you really kind of couldn't tell what was fact or fiction. And I don't know. Yeah, maybe this is giving us insight into where Paris's whole persona came from.
Yeah, honestly, Stephen, when you said that, my first thought was just the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I was just like, these two, even though they're different, they are the same. They've got some weird stuff going on.
And I do believe that there is a degree to which Kathy is playing it up. I mean, we've mentioned this hunky-dory thing. If listeners don't know what we're talking about, one of the characters says, I can't just pretend that everything's hunky-dory. And then Kathy looks at her and goes, who's hunky-dory? Now, it was really funny, but I have to admit, I do think Kathy Hilton knows.
Kathy, she has to know, right?
Listen, or she's too rich to know.
That's true. Do rich people have to know words? Probably not.
Okay, so Shannon, basically Kathy has given us everything this season that we didn't know we needed. What do you think she's gonna give us next season if she comes back? Should Bravo bring back Kim so that we can have all three sisters on the show together for some actual drama? I mean, what do we want here for the franchise?
I can't even imagine. I can't even, I mean, just all three of these sisters have just proven themselves to be, like Paris, iconic reality TV stars, and in extremely different ways. I mean, all of these sisters are so different and yet share a similar, I guess it is kind of a kookiness, even though Kathy is much further on the spectrum of kook. But yeah, I mean, I think just their family, which is just a big, complicated, has been in the spotlight for decades. I mean, that would be incredible television.
I would definitely watch that, especially because I would love to unpack the scene where Kathy reveals that Kim changed her number and told Kathy, but not her other sister, Kyle. So I'm
what is going
I would
on
some
there?
Family dynamics explained to me here.
We also don't know why Kathy and Kyle had been feuding for a while, right? Why they hadn't spoken. I wonder if we'll ever learn.
They've hinted at it. They've said that it's because Kyle was making that show for the Paramount Network, American Woman.
About their loosely based
about
on
the
their
family.
Right.
Yeah.
But like very loosely based. And Kyle said like it's not autobiographical, but that is why they stopped speaking. And then they started speaking once American Woman got canceled.
Okay.
Because
that makes
family
sense.
supports family.
These are the plot lines we need on the next season. I want the Richard sisters trifecta on my TV. I really do.
I do too. I also want more of Kathy's bonkers aesthetics. I mean, what a great example of money can't buy taste, because from the clothes to the house to her creepy baby doll wreaths, I don't think Kathy's got a great eye necessarily.
Kathy is certainly special. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you guys. This was a lot of fun. Kathy forever.
Kathy forever. That's it for today. Come back and join us on Monday.
And remember, Velma is a cartoon character and can be literally any race.
BuzzFeed Daily is produced by Dan Bauza, Joshua Burnley, Tanya Bustos, Jess Goodwin, and Erica Nedinin.
Special thanks to Samantha Hennig and Tommy Wesley.
Be sure to subscribe to BuzzFeed Daily on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you go for your sound stories.
And please take the time to leave us a rating and a review. It helps us figure out what you like about the show versus what you love about the show. And remember to come back for more of what you love about BuzzFeed, coming to you daily.
The rich and powerful want us to think the economy is a line on a stock market ticker. That's wrong. The economy is powered by us. It's what we create, what we buy, what we need. President Biden has proposed bold public investments in jobs and families, but more is needed. We need housing, healthcare, caregiving, action on the climate crisis, and millions of good-paying jobs. This is our moment to finally unlock prosperity for all of us. For more information, go to prosperus.org. That's prosperus.org.
Drugs. Almost everyone uses them, and everyone has an opinion about them. I'm Ethan Nadelman, host of the new podcast, Psychoactive. I'll be talking with scientists and politicians, celebrities and activists about all things drugs.
You know, I think ecstasy saved my marriage.
Why do we have receptors in our brain that fit molecules made by poppy plants?
Psychoactive is out now. Listen to Psychoactive on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.